Hey, welcome to another episode of Three Conservative Gimps. It's great to be back. I was gone last week because I was out of town picking up a lap steel guitar that I had modified. I had swapped out a pickup on it, so it'll give it a brighter, louder tone to it. So hopefully, I'll be able to maybe demonstrate on this show or maybe one of my other live streams. So let's get to it, shall we? Uh, you know what? Let's bring in my other panelists. Let's welcome all the way from Muskogee, Oklahoma, the dulcet tones of Lloyd Mendenhall. Welcome, welcome.
Hello, hello, hello. How y'all doing?
We're doing good, and so it's good to have you back, and it's good to hear that Judy is doing much better, and she is home, and that is great news.
Yeah, this was a long road on this one because her the pneumonia was it's called aspirated pneumonia. It meant she brought something into her lungs, which either, and so they had her off of they had her set at nothing by mouth, and so they were giving her some of her meds by IV, but not much of them. And it turned into a nightmare, right. And one doctor got this wild hair of what to do about it, and me and I ended up calling the patient advocate, and which is at the main hospital in Tulsa, and then the main doctor he picked up on it. The case was handed off to him on Tuesday, and he followed through with what the previous doctor done on Sunday or Monday morning. By Wednesday, I was raising Hades, and he had a come to Jesus moment before we all got through. I took him to the Church of Grumpy, and I ripped him a new one. And at the end of it, said everything said and done, he was a nice doctor, and he appreciated how I worked with him and helped him see what needs to be done and why it needs to be done this way. So he was very happy with that, and I was too.
Right.
Her nurses this time were hit and miss. She had probably 3 good nurses and 4 bad nurses.
Oh boy, wow.
And that's the ones that seemed to upset her, and she was scared to be left alone with those nurses because they weren't doing their job, and she knew I'd make sure they did their job. So
right.
I ended up spending a lot more time up there, and
I kind of noticed that because I'm like, oh, wow, I haven't heard much from Lloyd. I hope everything is okay. And
it's just worried there. Yeah, she got out of ICU on Friday, so she spent Friday night and Saturday night. And when the doctor came in and saw her on Sunday, he was blown away about how good she is. Well, the thing was they finally started getting all of her meds into her. We had other departments like because it was aspirated pneumonia, they had to do a swallow study. Well, he put that order in on Tuesday morning, and they finally got it done Friday.
Oh boy!
They tried one time, and she was almost into a seizure. And it's just like, but they finally got the study done. Was able to start giving her stuff by mouth. So,
no, that's good. That's good.
Anyways.
All right. Speaking of by mouth, let's welcome Charles. welcome.
That's an unusual introduction, Art. Yeah. Hey, Lloyd.
Hey, Charles, how you doing? Judy was saying something to me. I had to double check on her. So I'm going to see if I can get your show shut off. I'm going to show a cigarette being lit.
Yeah. Make sure it doesn't look like a pew. We'll touch on that in a second.
Yeah.
Charles, good to see you. How's the weather down up there that way?
Warm but gloomy.
Okay.
Here, I'll abuse a duck.
There you go.
I might as well.
So,
I don't have any guns or anything, so I might as well jump on the bandwagon somehow.
right.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what happened on my live stream last night. For those of you who are new, who are watching this for the first time, and we have a lot of folks in the chat that have been watching this program for quite a while. I do a live stream on Saturday nights on my drone channel. And what I do, similar to this, I have guests on the show and we talk about mainly drones, and then sometimes we kind of swerve into other topics. And I had a guest on who I haven't had on in quite a while. He lives up in Wyoming. And he was showing, he's in his new man cave, and he's got his stuffed bear and his deer heads, and hanging on the wall is well, I can't say it. I gotta say pew pew now, because we don't want to get in trouble on this channel. What
Son of
had
a gun.
happened was, so yeah.
I just stubbed my toe.
Oh.
Son of a gun.
A friend of ours in the chat wanted to know what that pew pew was. Was it a 30-30? Well, because it was beautifully engraved and had some artwork on the stock and on the forearm, or the fore end. He took it down off the wall and showed it to us so we could get a really good close work at the beautiful artwork on it. And that's the key word, YouTube. Maybe AI should look up what artwork means. And it wasn't, I mean, we didn't even think about it. I mean, Charles, you were there, you were on the panel. Did you, I mean,
I wouldn't have thought anything about it myself. Yeah.
No, I had to. As things were unfolding, I went and I looked up their community guidelines on firearms. But even what was said in there didn't address what happened on a live stream. The community guidelines were all about what happens if you upload a video.
Right. So what happened was, a few minutes later, all of a sudden, I'm hearing people saying, "Art, your feed is gone. Your chat, the live stream is gone." But it was being simulcast on my other guest's channel, and it was still going out to Bill Ronane's channel and to Dominic Papa Sergio's channel. That would be Northside Hawk, and Don of Mudball Creative. They were all simulcasting it on their channels, and it was still going. So I didn't end the stream. I kept the stream going, and you could see the numbers of viewers, and it was still a pretty good crowd. It wasn't really big like it was early in the show, and this was well after I did the drawing for the toffee. So an hour and 30 minutes into the show, that's when Ron showed us the pew pew. And what was it? About 5 or 10 minutes after that, it just went away. It just went dark on my channel, but it was still going on the other channels. And so a few minutes after that, I got an email, and I'm going to read what they sent me. What our policy says: content that shows someone live streaming while holding, handling, or transporting a firearm isn't allowed on YouTube. And Lloyd, you made a good point. We were chatting just before the show, and that's probably the reason why this rule came into effect. Please tell us.
Yeah. Well, it was, I don't know, it's 4 or 5 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. There's been a couple of them. Facebook, it happened on Facebook Live where they had a few mass shooters were broadcasting on live stream on Facebook Live. And they showed them going into schools or going into, I can't remember which, I can't give you a specific case, but there were 3 or 4 that happened in a short period of time. And that's when they banned any visuals of the pew pew on Facebook. And then I think one happened on YouTube, and YouTube just followed suit. So that if you're handling a pew pew, there's the possibility that, you know, you may do something nefarious on the air, and they don't want that broadcast. So they just take it. It's a one-stop shopping when it comes to that. You know, you can't do, you can't handle it. You can't transport it. You can't, I forgot the third thing you said. Anyways, on a live stream. So, because who knows, somebody may
transporting. Yeah.
I had it popped up. But so, anyways, but that's why they did that, because there were several. It predominantly happened on Facebook Live, and then so that's when that really changed, and then it really, you know, it changed, and YouTube just followed suit, because I think there was one that happened with YouTube, because there was the one that had the first one that happened, and there was a couple of, and, you know, also some, you know, I think there was a suicide or two done live.
Right.
So they just have got a blanket policy, you know. Their AI. No, Chris Wedgeworth, you are not the only one there. Steve Knowles is here. So, yeah, just nobody's answering.
Well, we'll say hello to everybody in the chat in a bit. So somebody, it just messaged me on Facebook that probably what happened was, you know, YouTube is using AI to scan all these live streams, and I think that just tripped the algorithm, and then it just went boom down. It was quick. Wasn't like all of a sudden the next day I get a notice, hey, we're gonna take, it's not a strike against you. So that's the good thing, is it's just that live streaming, so it's not monetized, and so anything that, you know, any super chats or membership gifting, that all just went away.
But don't they have to refund that money, or do they just keep that money?
That's a good question.
They can't take that money away from you unless they refund it to the original person.
Right.
No matter what their rules are, they can't take away. I mean, that would be fraud right there on YouTube's part. So if you had super chats, or it was gifts, membership gifts given away, they have to give those. They have to do that, or else. So, you know, they're in violation of some of their own policies, like contests and stuff. So, yeah. There was something I was going to say too. I can't remember what it is.
I don't know.
I'll think about it here in a minute.
All right. Well, while you're thinking, let's say hello. You do.
The whole thing about artificial intelligence. I think before we start working on artificial intelligence, some of these guys need to have actual intelligence, because the people programming the artificial intelligence aren't smart enough to have their own intelligence. So let's work on, I think YouTube and some of these people should work on their own intelligence first, then start adapting artificial intelligence.
Right. Mm-hmm. You know, maybe distinguish between someone showing artwork or showing how, what pew pew is, because after my live stream went down and it was still going on the other channels, is one of the other members, I'm not going to mention his name, decided to, he was saying that, well, I've had pew-pews on my channel and never happened. So what does he do? He pulls out a couple of his small pew-pews and then he decided to pull out his, I'll just give the caliber number, 410 pew-pew, big thingy.
Yeah.
And it was soon after that.
Fire stick.
A fire stick, that's right. We're not even talking about the Amazon brand.
Exactly.
So that went away. And then
Pew pew for Mr. J.
Right. Yeah. Because we can't say that word because that'll get flagged, and this stream.
Son of a gun, I did it again.
Yeah, son of a gun, I stubbed my toe. Yeah. So
we were mocking the YouTube gods.
So one of the other panelists got out a camera holder that has all these accoutrements and everything on it, and he made it in the shape of a.
He has a handle. I have one on one of my outdoor cameras that does the same thing. It has a handle underneath. It's with a with a finger guard to keep you from hurting your fingers when you go through the brush.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And for some weird reason, the AI thought, "Oh, that looks like a pew-pew," and
they shut him down.
Went down. So it was just one of those. It was like a comedy of errors. One thing led to another, and it was like, "Holy crap! What just happened?"
Well, we
yes?
want to be honest here and say we do not support live streaming terrible events.
Right.
Using a pew-pew. We're against that. But they have a way that they could delay the feed just by a few seconds or a minute to review that and see what the context is and then continue on.
Right.
Because we're not advocating bad things with it.
This was a drone channel. Now, why would anybody correlate, ouch, son of a gun, I stubbed my knee. That would get flagged, and it's like so hopefully, and I did appeal, and hopefully they'll look at the feed and say, maybe we went overboard, and so then if they let me edit that, then maybe I go in and edit that part out, and then edit the part out where that other person brought out his pew-pews, because that's what led to the other stuff that went down the road. So
didn't your stream end long before he brought out his other stuff?
Yes, it did.
Yeah. So he was actually on his own channel.
Right.
You won't even be able to edit that out. He'll have to deal with that himself.
Yeah, he'll have to make it. This whole thing with artificial intelligence, again, it goes back to the old days of programming when we used to, when all of us old farts used to have to program stuff. Garbage in is garbage out, and that's what they're getting with these AIs right now, because they don't have, these young people that are in their 20s don't have the experience, the understanding, or the knowledge of real life situations to be able to decide what's real and what's not, and they're promoting their own ideas and their own relevance of understanding into these AIs, and that's where this is all coming from, you know.
And you're dealing with young people with very progressive liberal ideas.
There's
That
that.
oh,
I was
gun,
staying away from that, but that's what I meant. Yeah.
yeah, pew pews are bad. We can't have that. So let's tamp down on that. And it's like, you know, I could see why they do this, but I hope they review this and say, boy, we really stepped on it. And
Well,
no, this will, hopefully they'll say this is fine, but I have kind of a feeling that they'll say, nope, we're going to stand firm, and you can't upload or can't have this on your channel.
It may come to the point here in the future, because I see it leaning that way more and more now, that we may have to start doing our live shows on Rumble rather than on YouTube. Because Rumble has a good live stream set up. You know, once you get it in there and set up.
However, on StreamYard, that is a recording. I could take that recording and upload it. I hope I get uploaded to Rumble
as a video. Yeah.
So I will go look back on StreamYards and see if I could get access to that recording and download it and then upload it, or just figure a way how to shoot it over to Rumble. People could watch it for themselves. Yeah.
Good, Chris. I've been on Rumble since it started.
Right. And I haven't done anything with Rumble in quite a while.
I do a little bit. Actually, I was when I was using that other streaming thing that caused me so much crap.
Oh,
it was real. I could, but the problem with Rumble, when you do a live stream, you can only schedule it 2 days in advance, which makes a pain in the butt. At least that's as far as I can tell. Now, you know, and you also have to have a custom. Yeah, it's under Grumpy Vlogger, I think.
Yep. And mine is also Artco Drones. I don't know if it's Drone Solutions or what. But I was also simulcasting the show on X.
Right.
So maybe it's still up there on X.
Oh, I'm sure if you were broadcasting directly to X from StreamYards, that won't affect it. Only on YouTube were you taken down. So anything, because X has nothing to do with YouTube and vice versa.
Right.
Just like what is it? Starts with the gaming one that everybody uses.
Twitch.
Twitch. Same thing. Twitch is the same way. No matter what happens on YouTube, Twitch still stays up.
Okay, I will go back to X and see if I could find that, and maybe I could, put a link to my Facebook or to my other platforms, and people could find that. Yeah, and I could say, watch this segment here, and give us your take. Yeah. So that is what happened, folks. And Mike, let's say hello to everybody in the chat. We got Mike Wright, Tex Arts drone guy, all the way down Texas. That's why we beat Tech. And we got Chris Wedgeworth. We got Mr. JRC, which is John. And we got who else is? Oh, we got Brian, Waypoint, New England. And we got Steve Knowles. And we got Captain Joe America, USA Drone Flyer. Grant Mr. S is with us. And I believe that is about it. So we got a good group watching right now, and so let's talk about what's going on in the political world. Trump steamrolling through the primaries, just won South Carolina. Nikki Haley is still in the race. Turns out she was being funded by the Koch brothers, or one of the Koch.
Yeah, I want to ask you real quick, which episode was it last night?
It was
245.
245.
All right. Okay. Let me bring this up and see, paste.
And I will. It's
there you go.
1 hour 38 minutes into the show.
All right. Well, the whole thing played on there last night is 2 hours and 23 minutes. So I just posted the link.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I just posted it.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah,
wonderful.
And it's under Arthur Carlson.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Arthur.Carlson 1, I believe. 1 or 2. No, 2, I believe. Yeah.
It's just Arthur, capital A R U T H, and then capital C ARLSON 2. There's no dots. It's just Arthur Carlson 2.
Right. Okay. Hey, we got Joel and Mr. Skyfly. Joel, your toffee is on its way. Got it shipped out this morning. So it'll go out tomorrow when the mail goes. So you should get it by about Thursday. So, and Jody will get his at about the same time. And, Joel lives in Gladwin, Michigan. So both packages went to Michigan, where Jody lives in Battle Creek, Michigan, the home of Kellogg.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And there, you know what? There's also a Kellogg, Michigan, as well. So
yeah, Kellogg's where the high colonic was considered a health service. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. So Trump's been winning a lot of these primaries, and I think Colorado just had theirs, and I didn't even bother to turn in my ballot because I figured, why? Because none of these Republican candidates are going to get any electoral votes here in Colorado. And it was only a presidential primary, and the state GOP already decided to endorse him without any input from, the Colorado citizens, the Republicans. Right. So that kind of hurt me as well.
Well, speaking of Colorado news and your primaries and all that stuff, the Supreme Court may be handing down a decision as early as tomorrow on the Colorado ballot.
Oh, good. Oh, and speaking of ballot, Illinois has decided to remove Trump from the ballot.
Yeah. Well, this situation, they just followed suit with what Colorado did. But tomorrow, the Supreme Court, they've already had arguments on it. And tomorrow, I think they're going to, because they normally release these when the court is actually in session, which would be like in June. I think they said it originally it was, April is when they'd be in session next. But they're going to issue it from their website. They're going to make an issuance tomorrow to try to get it all done before Super Tuesday, so that there's no questions asked one way or the other. He's either going to be in or he's going to be out.
Right.
The way it was leaning, it looks like he'll be in, but and this may actually affect how he's prosecuted on some of these other cases.
Right.
Because if they declared that he was not involved in insurrection, then it's a little hard to charge him with insurrection when he's been declared by Supreme Court.
One of the things they're talking about is presidential immunity. which they're
Right.
going to be talking about that. And he was never charged with insurrection. So
Well, I think, yeah, he's got like 4 cases before the Supreme Court, but the one of him being removed from the ballot and I don't know if the argument there was that he had presidential immunity, or the argument was he's never been charged with insurrection. I don't know how they played it, and this last week I have been out of the news cycle. I just watched a little bit this afternoon so I could have something to talk about on here.
Right. So, yeah, I would just, I watch YouTube quite a bit, and I see Megan Kelly. She does a lot of shorts, and from what she says is Trump is getting a lot of the endorsements in early so he could get the nomination before there are any either trials or any convictions handed down.
Yeah, tomorrow, Tuesday will probably show how close. Tuesday could very well decide it or get close to deciding it.
Right.
Long before a trial even comes up. So,
right.
So I think depending, and from what I saw, of the arguments, what I heard about him, I think he's got a good chance of winning that one, anyways.
Right.
The other one he's being prosecuted on is a possible bribe to Stormy Daniels. And that's considered. I don't know how that falls into.
Yeah. Well, and then you got the stupid.
She's doing much better, Ronnie. She's home, so she's doing much better.
That stupid case up in New York where they're crying fraud when there was no victim, no crime was committed,
no fraud.
The loan was paid off, and you know who Kevin O'Leary is. He's part of Shark Tank, and he's also real estate tycoon. And he plainly said, this is the way business has been done for decades. One side will give their numbers, the bank will say no, it's a lot lower, and what they do is they come to the middle and they make an agreement, or they don't.
Yeah, it's not fraudulent, it's negotiation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just like selling a house, okay, or buying a house. So I say my house is worth $150,000, okay? That's kind of what the market is around here. That's what the property tax is. That's, whatever. And I go to a realtor and they said, well, that's really not fitting the market today. So let's drop it to $125,000. I said, okay, I still think it's worth, but we'll go with your number. So then the other people come up and they say, we'll offer you $105,000. Well, man, that's $20,000 difference. Let's negotiate here. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is they go and hire an independent appraiser for the mortgage company. The mortgage company does that.
Right.
The bank that's loaning the money does that. And they hire somebody and they say, well, it's not $125,000, but it's also not $110,000. It's $115,000, and that's what we'll finance on. And so that's where you go. But that's the same thing. I still say my house is worth $150,000, but John Doe Bank says they'll only loan $115,000, and the other group said, well, we don't want to pay more than $110,000. Well, go buy your way or buy the house, your choice,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's how it's always been done. Well, I say hello to Bill, Uncle Bill, and his channel.
Hey, Uncle Bill.
Good to see you, Bill. And let's see what else. There was a thing about Democrat political action committees. They are going to spend $350 million.
I need you to step away for just a minute.
All right. I'll bump you out here. And they're going to spend that money on media buys. And one of the things they're going to spend the money on is they're going to hire actors. And they're going to be, you've seen the lawyer ads where you actual clients. No, they're because here in Denver, I've seen some of those people in other ads, so I know they're actors. So they're going to hire actors. They're going to give them $500 to say, "I'm voting for Joe Biden," and so it's just propaganda that they're going to spew out there, and they're going to try to make it that look like that Joe Biden has a bigger following than he does. So that's what they're going to do. And so I thought that was really interesting. I go, wow, on one hand, hey, that's a smart way to do it. And on the other hand, it's like, well, that's kind of underhanded, but hey, that's politics isn't beanbag. So that's the way it goes. And
of course, we never know. They because it's a super PAC. Super PAC funds can be spent on personal things. They don't have to be spent on the campaign. So,
right.
God only knows how much of that they'll actually spend on the campaign, and how much will end up in other people's pockets.
Right. Yeah, it goes into consulting fees and all this stuff. And here in Colorado, we got a lot of consultants. We got this one called Compass Colorado, which the state GOP used quite a bit to do some polling and marketing and stuff. And Lloyd is back. So welcome back, Lloyd. So, and guess what? They were always wrong. And it's like, why are these candidates spending a crap ton of money into these consultants that are wrong all the time? So, put that money into things like that help, like petitions, doing the footwork to meet people, mailers. Yeah. I remember when I ran for state house, I actually took a lot of my own money. I took some money from my 401k to help finance my campaign and buy, I came up with the artwork and all this stuff and put out mailers and you get a big discount on volume mailing. So mailed them, I got a list of all the registered Republicans in the district and boom, sent that out, got yard signs. I just don't know how effective mailers are, because I know when I see mailers in my mailbox, they go into the big round file right next to my mailbox. I don't read them. I might glance at, oh, Joe Schmo's running for dog catcher. There you go. Yeah, big deal. Oh, Donald Trump wants some money. Sorry, I'm poor. So
Donald Trump's got more than I do. He could share some of his with me.
Yeah.
Well, it's like with me when I ran for president in 2020. I spent all my money on flowers for those graves to get those voted for me. They all voted Democrat.
Right.
This year, I decided not to spend any money on flowers.
There you go.
Although Curtis Dart did some fantastic artwork for me, I got to admit, and Ron Lockwood did a great video for me too. So, cool. But that was stuff that was done for me for free. But yeah, running a campaign is not cheap. You got people. You got to pay the electric bill.
Right.
And pay somebody to work, somebody to fix change the toner on the
On the printer.
Xerox machine, and
Yep.
stuff.
Yep. And you
money.
gotta pay your volunteers. And here's the difference between Republicans and Democrats. Republicans, we got volunteers that'll volunteer their time, where the Democrats will actually pay people to do stuff, which I wish Republicans would do the same thing. But now that the party is so screwed up here in Colorado that people have really stopped donating.
Hold on, I'll be back.
All righty. That they stopped sending money to candidates and stuff, or to the state party. Okay, now he's back. So he's back. There we go.
Yeah, what happened was Judy's been having a lot of neck pain, so we've been using heat, applied heat on her neck. Okay, so I just, the best thing for it that I found was a bag full of beans, wrapped in a towel, pop it in the microwave for a minute, and they stay warm for hours.
Yeah.
Right.
Unfortunately, the dog smell them and understands that they're food.
Oh,
so they're trying to get to the beans. They try to get to the beans, which are behind Judy's head, and then one dog thinks the other dog's making it. Next thing you know, those two pups are in a knockdown, drag out, tooth and toenail fight right there by Judy. So,
man,
I couldn't believe this. Like, yeah.
Couldn't you just have cats? Cats don't do that.
Yeah. I just got to come up with something different that will work.
They'll just eat your face off when you're dead.
Do what?
They'll eat your face off when you're dead and you died alone.
Yeah. They probably would. Yeah. Might be an improvement. I don't know. At least on my part. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways.
So that's what's going on. And I just thought of something else, but it went away. So that's what's going on with the Super Pats. And I just saw a few shorts from Lloyd's cousin, Richard Nixon, and he was talking about stuff that affects us today. Like, he talked about the Middle East, he talked about Iran and nuclear proliferation, and he talked about Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan, and it's like, wow, so I think I'll have to subscribe to that channel. And this last video that I saw was on the media, and he talked about how Eisenhower said, look out for the military industrial complex. He talked about watch out for the media empire, that'll decide whose side, and they'll even make up stories. And I'm like, going, wow, how poignant, because that is what's happening right now, to a point where some of us sophisticated people just stop watching network and even local news. I don't even watch local news, because right after Trump got elected, I was an avid news watcher, and it just seemed like every day it was a constant this haranguing of Donald Trump. Oh, Donald Trump in Russia. Oh, Donald Trump and Stormy Daniels. And it's like, what? And it just got to a point where I said, screw it. I'm not watching those idiots. It just doesn't make a hill of beans. And now I'm to a point where, I'm just fed up with the Republican Party because the different factions don't want to work together to defeat the Democrats. And I will bring a quote from a friend of mine, John Caldera, who runs the Independent Institute here in Colorado. He said, Democrats are the evil party, or the party of evil. The Republicans are the party of stupid. And I agree with that. And just before the show, I saw on Twitter, Mark Hillman was crowing about something. And I said, yeah, Mark, you're the reason why this party is divided. You're the idiot that started this stupid campaign against Bob Beaupre, calling him both ways Bob.
Yeah.
And then after you lost the primary, the Democrats used that same ad against him. And guess what? That's how we got Ed Perlmutter is in Congress for nearly 20 years. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you go back to all of the different, especially the communist revolutions that, I mean, look what happened in Cuba. The first thing they did was take control of the broadcast systems. At that time it was radio. I don't even know if Cuba had television there. Yeah, what Dre says. Yeah, but I mean, they go after the media because that's what everybody listens to. That's the best way to get their message out.
Right.
But media has always.
Yes, Max. Yeah, I wish Charles would just.
Yeah, we try, but once we let Charles start talking, there's no shutting him up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Communists always take over the radio tower,
I don't think it's communists. I think it's any revolution that does it. I mean, right. Whoever's whatever party is trying to take over, whatever group or authority or whatever, they all do the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
And because that's the way to reach the masses,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even going back to our own American Revolution, I mean, you had Ben Franklin printing stuff out with Poor Richard's Almanac, and
right.
You had the presses that were being used here, and that was newsprint that took. They might have 2 pages in that, and it may have taken them, 24 hours or a week to print a newspaper, a front and back 2 pages, So, yeah, that's how they pass the word to the masses,
Right.
And
right.
So the problem is, I saw something the otit day. Actually, it was just yesterday on Facebook. Somebody posted this. Back in the 60s, there was a man by the name who came on every night at 5:30. He read the news as it was written. It was, picked it up off the AP wires. At the end of the night, he said, "Have a good night," and he left. His name was Walter Cronkite.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We don't have that anymore. Now everybody pontificates and proselytes and all of those other nice words that they use on those. Yeah. And advocates. Yeah. All of those fancy words that people like to use, but they don't report the news because even, a lot of them were getting their stuff on the the Associated Press, or what was the other one? It used to be United
UPI.
Press, UPI, United Press International. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those companies now are owned by broadcast or journalism groups, so even their reporting is not, getting it right fresh off the wire does not mean it doesn't already have a slant written to it, depending on
Right.
what,
Mm-hmm.
that's where we have failed our generation has failed the next two generations in
Mm-hmm.
teaching journalistic integrity.
Right. But back then you had
Exactly, Dre. We have on-air talent with their own agendas. We no longer have journalists.
mm-hmm. That's true, Dre. Back then you had newspapers, radio, and television. Now we have those three. We have the internet. We have, I mean, we got 24/7 news cycle every day. I mean, we get
Yeah,
our news instantly. And there's a guy that I've been following the last few weeks. His name is Ryan Macbeth, and he's kind of the truth detector because he'll call out BS on both sides, but
yeah,
mainly on the left. And he, like he's got a military background, so when
right.
people say something stupid about military weapons or something, oh, the Israelis are leaving weapons in Gaza. No, they were empty rocket launcher cases. Those aren't weapons. I
Yeah,
mean, they're empty. You know.
yeah. Well, and it comes down to journalism integrity. Everybody, like Grace says, everybody there's not news or they're on-air talent, and I mean, just to show how blurred the lines are. You have people that are on a conservative news network doing their thing, and they're kind of like on that border. And finally, they step over that line just a little bit and go to a little bit left of center instead of right of center. And then they're asked to leave, so they leave, and they're suddenly working for the farthest left channel that there ever was. One way or the other. They all do it. Then you have people that were on those channels that are now coming over to the more conservative channels. And it's to the point you don't. It's not how they believe; it's how it depends on what their paycheck is, how well they toe the line. So we're not getting enough over here at the F news channels. So we're going to go because, and so they come out and they start their podcast, and then they eventually get a few audience members showing up, and they blah, blah, blah. And then next thing you know, they're on the C network,
Right.
And all of a sudden it's like, wow, I never thought of them as being that person. That's because now they're getting a big paycheck.
Right.
Their agenda is set up by the dollar signs that are in their bank account. I don't think there's a single one of them that I believe is a true conservative or a true Democrat. Not anymore. I used to think so, but it's true conservative.
Well, Ron, what a lot of journalists believe, I mean, they're pretty much all progressives, and they all believe in this fairness, egalitarian, equity, not equality. And because that crap is taught to them from school, public school, and then they go to college. Then it's beaten into their heads in college, and then when they get their journalism degree, they come out and they're all the same. They all believe the same thing, and most of them do, and some of them there are a few of them that are like, wow, that sounds kind of nutty, and then they're starting to come back towards the center, like like Megyn Kelly, she is more towards the center. And she said, I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I just vote for whoever,
Yeah, because she was a very she presented a very conservative point of view for a long time.
Right.
Personally, Donald Trump came along, and she didn't like it. She didn't like him as a person,
Right.
and her agenda changed to the point where she was, let go. And
Right.
And here's the ironic thing about it. The owners of Fox News are the most liberal bunch there ever was.
Yeah. Yeah. Rupert's
The Murdochs are bleeding heart liberals from a long time ago. And Ronnie, you're
Yep.
right. You believe that suppression of news for any considerations other than welfare of society is indefensible. That's true. That's the news, not the opinion. See, that's where the lines are blurred now between what's news and what's an editorial and or an opinion piece. I heard, and I'm going back to Walter Cronkite again, and I remember this newscast one night. It was when Lyndon Johnson, it was at the height of the Vietnam War under Lyndon Johnson, and he was trying to decide whether he should run or not, and he hadn't announced yet. And one night, Walter Cronkite, at the end of his show, the very last thing he said is he felt that this war was no longer winnable, no longer sustainable, and was costing too many American lives. Mm-hmm. And he says, and that's my opinion. And that was how he says, and have a good night. And he signed off. And Lyndon Johnson and Walter Cronkite were good friends.
Right.
When Lyndon Johnson heard that, he says, if I've lost Walter Cronkite, I've lost the nation. And he chose not to run again. Well, that's fine by me, but still, Walter Cronkite, 30 or 40 years later, because it made it sound like when he left, he was dying off, but he wasn't. He was around for another 20 or 30 years,
Yep.
And he said in his later years, he says, the biggest mistake I ever made in all of my years in journalism was that night voicing my opinion and not the news. He says,
right.
I was no longer a reporter. I was an editorialist. He says, and I changed. He says, in my opinion, that's what ushered in the news or ushered in this agenda we have now. All right, I got to run. Judy's waving at me, so I need to go check on her. This was a good
Lloyd,
show, guys.
Yeah, thanks for coming. And I want to thank everybody in the chat for joining us. And hopefully this will be get a lot of views with all this stuff.
And thanks for all the prayers and kind wishes that have been extended to myself and Judy. That meant a lot to both of us, okay? And we really appreciate it. So anyways, I got to bail, guys. See you guys hopefully on my show tomorrow night. Well, I'll let you know.
Take care.
All right.
Good night, Lloyd.
Good night,
Lloyd. Everybody in the chat, thank you for coming. And please, let's spread this out there. I want to grow this channel because I was on Jalen Charita channel the other night, and I was plugging this channel, and I pretty much doubled my subscribers on that channel. So hopefully we get the ball rolling, get to a point where I could monetize this channel as well. Be kind of cool to have a coffee mug that says 3CG on it and have that emblem up in the corner there. And tell your friends, tell them to subscribe and become a regular watcher of this channel. And then when I get monetized, I could add memberships and have cool stuff to sell. So thank you all, and God bless you, and catch you next week, and have a great week.
Good night, folks.